What happens when the truth you've been hiding for years finally comes crashing down on you? Kirk thought he was untouchable, keeping quiet about his secret bank accounts while Rasheeda carried the weight of their marriage on her back. But now everything has exploded in the courtroom. Rasheeda's lawyer has uncovered the receipts, the transfers, and the shocking proof that Kirk has been hiding money all along. The betrayal runs deeper than anyone imagined, and the fallout is about to shake their marriage to its core. The story begins with a chilling silence. For years, whispers have followed Kirk and Rasheeda's marriage, rumors of infidelity, betrayal, and the weight of financial secrets. But never before has the truth been dragged so forcefully into the light. Kirk thought he was clever, thought he was in control, hiding away funds in accounts Rasheeda never knew existed. What he didn't expect was that, one day, his own wife would stand on the other side of the courtroom, armed with lawyers determined to expose everything he tried so desperately to keep hidden. Rasheeda has always carried herself as the strong one. Fans of love and hip-hop Atlanta have watched her weather humiliation, scandals, and public disrespect at the hands of her husband. Time and time again, she was painted as the forgiving wife, someone willing to put the family and business first, even when Kirk's actions cut her deeply. But what people didn't see was the quiet shift happening behind the scenes. Rasheeda was no longer just the woman holding her marriage together. She was preparing to protect herself and her empire. It all started with suspicion. Rasheeda's earnings from her boutiques and music weren't matching what Kirk claimed the household finances looked like. Bills were mysteriously piling up, certain payments weren't adding up, and the couple's joint accounts didn't reflect the money she knew was flowing in. For years, she chalked it up to mismanagement, poor planning, or Kirk's bad business decisions. But eventually, the inconsistencies became impossible to ignore. And when you put a strong woman in a corner, she doesn't just cry. She comes out swinging. Rasheeda hired her own financial team, quietly, discreetly, without tipping. Kirk off, she brought in accountants and legal minds to dig through records. What they uncovered shocked even her. Multiple bank accounts in Kirk's name, some linked to shell businesses, others hidden under trusts and secondary LLCs, transfers totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years, siphoned away from the very empire she helped build. This wasn't just oversight, this was deliberate. When the lawyer laid the papers on the table, Rasheeda felt her heart sink. Every suspicion she ever had was validated. Kirk wasn't just betraying her emotionally, he was betraying her financially, carving out a secret life while pretending they were in this together. The rage, the humiliation, and the heartbreak boiled inside her, but she didn't lash out publicly, not yet. She let the lawyers prepare their case, stacking proof on proof, until the day came when Kirk would have no choice but to face the truth. And that day came in the courtroom. Imagine the scene. Rasheeda walks in, poised and composed, while Kirk tries to maintain his usual smug confidence. Cameras flash outside the courthouse, reporters shouting questions, fans desperate to know what explosive drama is about to unfold. Inside, though, it's not reality TV, it's raw. It's real, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The lawyer begins calmly presenting records one by one. A transfer here, a payment there, account after account, name after name. Kirk's expression changes slowly, first dismissive, then defensive, and finally uneasy. The mask slips as he realizes the walls are closing in. Every secret he thought was safe is now being aired out in front of everyone. Rasheeda sits still, but her eyes say everything. It's not just about money. It's about years of disrespect. It's about the sacrifices she made, the loyalty she showed, and the endless patience that was met with nothing but betrayal. Kirk doesn't just look like a husband on trial. He looks like a man exposed. A man stripped of the power he once held over his wife and their empire. But here's where it gets even more dramatic. The accounts weren't just for stashing away money. The lawyer reveals patterns, payments to women outside the marriage, unexplained expenses tied to lavish gifts, rental properties Rasheeda never knew existed. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was intertwined with Kirk's personal scandals. This wasn't just about hiding money, it was about living a double life. The courtroom erupts, gasps echo as the evidence piles higher and higher. Kirk tries to object, tries to brush it off as business decisions. But the proof is undeniable. The paper trail doesn't lie, and his excuses crumble under the weight of reality. For Rasheeda, this is vindication. For years, she was called weak for staying. Fans questioned her loyalty, judged her choices, and mocked her tears. But now, in this moment, the truth shifts everything. She wasn't naive. She was biding her time, collecting her strength, and waiting for the right moment to strike back. And when she struck, it was with precision. Still beneath her composed exterior, Rasheeda is torn. The man sitting across from her isn't just her husband. He's the father of her children, her business partner, someone she once trusted with everything. Exposing him means cutting the last tie holding their marriage together. But protecting herself means choosing survival over sentiment. For Rasheeda, it's no longer about love, it's about respect, security. And finally, reclaiming the power Kirk tried to strip away. Meanwhile, Kirk knows he's cornered. The cameras outside are waiting to capture his fall. The fans online are already buzzing with the rumors, and his legacy is crumbling before his eyes. He thought he was the mastermind, the one in control, but now his own arrogance has left him trapped. And as the lawyer lays out the final damning piece of evidence, Kirk realizes there's no going back. His secrets are no longer secrets. The silence in the room is heavy. Everyone knows this is only the beginning. The financial fallout could be massive. The marital fallout could be irreversible. And the public fallout, that's already underway. Because once the word gets out, once the headlines scream Kirk's secret bank accounts exposed, there will be no way to clean up the mess. Rasheeda's fans will rally behind her. Business opportunities may shift. And Kirk's reputation will be dragged through the mud. This isn't just a scandal. This is the unraveling of a marriage, the destruction of trust, and the ultimate betrayal, exposed under the harshest spotlight. And as Rasheeda leaves the courtroom that day, walking past flashing cameras with her head held high, everyone knows this is not the end. This is only the beginning of a battle that will shake their world to its core. Because the money wasn't the only secret. Kirk was hiding. The courtroom drama was only the spark that ignited the fire. When the doors closed behind them and the lawyers packed up their files, the real war began away from the cameras. Away from the legal jargon, in the raw conversations no one else was supposed to hear. Rasheeda went home that night with a heart heavier than it had ever been before. For years, she had endured humiliation in silence, brushing off public embarrassment and defending Kirk even when he didn't deserve it. But this was different. Infidelity, betrayal, those were wounds she had learned to manage. Money. Though the secret accounts, that was not just a betrayal of love, it was a betrayal of trust in their partnership, their family, and everything they had built together. Kirk tried to play it cool when he walked through the door later that evening. He poured himself a drink, loosened his tie, and acted like nothing had happened. That smug calm was his defense mechanism, the same way he always deflected whenever he got caught in his mess. But Rasheeda wasn't biting this time. She sat at the kitchen table, quiet, waiting, watching him. The silence was suffocating. Finally, she broke it. Why, Kirk? After everything we've been through, why did you feel the need to do this to me? Her voice wasn't just angry. It was trembling with hurt. Kirk tried to dodge, claiming it was just business, that she wouldn't understand the way money had to be moved to keep their ventures alive. But Rasheeda wasn't new to this. She wasn't just his wife, she was his partner. She had helped build the empire from the ground up. Every boutique, every music dollar, every reality TV check, they had both had a hand in making it. And now, sitting in front of her, Kirk was treating her like she was just some outsider, like she couldn't comprehend the truth. Business, she shot back. Business doesn't mean hiding money in secret accounts. Business doesn't mean taking from me while I'm the one out here hustling every day to keep our name alive. Kirk's composure cracked. He raised his voice, insisting she was blowing things out of proportion. But the evidence was undeniable. Rasheeda's lawyer hadn't just uncovered the accounts, they had traced the spending. Lavish withdrawals, unexplained expenses. Transfers that lined up suspiciously with Kirk's late nights and unexplained absences. Rasheeda leaned forward, tears brimming in her eyes, but her voice steady. You didn't just betray me, Kirk. You betrayed our family. You betrayed everything we worked for. And I don't know if I can ever forgive you for that. The weight of her words hung in the room. For once, Kirk didn't have a quick comeback. He stared at the floor, fidgeting with his glass, its arrogance replaced by the first flickers of guilt. But here's the thing: when a man like Kirk is cornered, he doesn't just fold, he scrambles. And that's exactly what he did in the days that followed. Behind closed doors, Kirk began working overtime to spin the narrative. To him, it wasn't about accountability, it was about survival. He reached out to friends, tried to explain that Rasheeda's legal team was twisting things, that it was all a misunderstanding. He even hinted to business partners that Rasheeda was being too emotional and that she didn't understand the pressures he was under. Classic Kirk, shifting the blame, painting himself as the victim, and trying to turn the tables. But Rasheeda wasn't staying silent anymore. She had always been the one to protect him, even when he didn't deserve it. She had shielded their children from the ugliest parts of their relationship. Shielded the world from knowing just how bad things had gotten at home. But this time, she wasn't going to protect his image. Not when the receipts told the story, louder than words ever could. When Rasheeda met with her lawyer again, she asked the hard questions. What did this mean for her financially? What did it mean for the businesses they owned? And most importantly, what did it mean for her future if she decided she was done with Kirk for good? Her lawyer was blunt. The accounts were proof of financial infidelity, and in any divorce proceeding, that would give her leverage. But leverage wasn't what Rasheeda wanted. She wanted clarity. She wanted to know how far Kirk had gone, how many more secrets were out there, and whether this was just the tip of the iceberg. And sure enough, the deeper they dug, the darker it got. Hidden property deeds surfaced. Transactions linked to names Rasheeda didn't recognize. Investments in ventures that had never once been mentioned to her. It became clear that Kirk hadn't just stashed money, he had built entire side hustles, entire networks of financial dealings that Rasheeda had no part in. This wasn't just about one or two accounts. This was a whole secret world. The betrayal hit Rasheeda in waves. Every new discovery felt like another knife to the chest. How long had he been planning this? How many times had she asked him directly about their finances, only for him to lie to her face? And all the while, she was out there putting in the work, branding herself, promoting their image. All while he was quietly carving out his escape plan. But here's where the story takes a dangerous turn. Rasheeda wasn't the only one watching closely. The moment word of Kirk's secret accounts began to leak to the public through blogs, whispers on social media, and fan speculation, opportunists started circling. Old flings of Kirk's came forward with claims, suggesting they had been taken care of financially by him. Business associates began hinting that they knew where some of the money went. Everyone wanted a piece of the spotlight. Everyone wanted to attach themselves to the scandal. And that's when Kirk realized his empire wasn't just in danger, it was collapsing. While Rasheeda remained composed, moving quietly with her legal team, Kirk's world began spinning out of control. The pressure mounted. Friends stopped picking up his calls. Business partners grew hesitant to continue deals with him. The public, who had always viewed him as shady, now had tangible proof that their suspicions were correct. The tension between Kirk and Rasheeda reached a boiling point one night when they sat down to talk without lawyers present. Rasheeda demanded one thing: the truth. No lawyers, no spin, no excuses. Just the truth. Kirk, if there's anything else, anything at all, I need to know now. 'Cause I swear to you, if I find out later, it's over. Completely over. Kirk looked at her, torn between desperation and pride. For a moment it seemed like he might actually break, might actually confess everything. But instead, he muttered the same line he had always used. "You don't understand, Rasheeda. I was doing it for us, to protect us. By lying to her, by hiding money, by risking everything they built." Rasheeda's heart hardened. In that moment, she realized Kirk wasn't ready to take responsibility. He wasn't ready to be honest. And if he wasn't ready, then she had no choice but to protect herself. That night, Rasheeda made a decision that would change everything. She instructed her lawyer to prepare for the possibility of divorce. Not because she wanted to end her marriage, but because she needed to be ready if Kirk gave her no other choice. The silence in their home became unbearable. They barely spoke, their children sensing the tension but not fully understanding the storm that was brewing. Rasheeda threw herself into her businesses, focusing on her boutiques and brand deals, while Kirk scrambled to put out fires that were already spreading beyond his control. And as much as he tried to keep the facade alive, the truth was catching up fast. More leaks were about to surface. More receipts were about to drop. And the world was about to learn that Kirk's betrayal was even bigger than anyone had imagined, because the bank accounts were only the beginning. By the time the news spread across social media, there was no stopping it. Blogs lit up with headlines screaming betrayal. YouTube channels dissected every detail of the courtroom drama. And fans flooded Rasheeda's comments with support while tearing Kirk apart.
She told Jasmine
the story of his secret bank
felt.
accounts wasn't just a private scandal anymore, was a public disaster that threatened to swallow him whole. But behind the hashtags and the headlines, the real fallout was far more devastating. Rasheeda had always been strong in the face of humiliation, but this was different. She wasn't just nursing a broken heart. She was staring down the reality that her entire marriage might have been built on lies. Every laugh, every promise, every late-night talk about their dreams, it all felt poisoned now. And yet, even as the heartbreak consumed her, she stood tall. Because if Kirk thought she was going to crumble under the weight of his betrayal, he was wrong. Rasheeda's lawyer began moving aggressively. They filed motions, subpoenaed records, and prepared to freeze accounts linked to Kirk's hidden assets. Word spread quickly in the business community. If you had money tied up with Kirk Frost, it was time to back out before you got dragged into the mess. Slowly but surely, his name became toxic. The deals that once flowed his way dried up. Invitations to industry events stopped coming. And the man who once strutted around with unchecked arrogance now found pinned himself isolated. But the real gut punch came when the second wave of receipts dropped. Rasheeda's legal team uncovered payments linked to women Kirk had allegedly supported on the side. Rent payments, car leases, shopping sprees. Every transaction told a story. The secret accounts weren't just for business. They were lifelines for the double life he had been living behind Rasheeda's back. The blogs ate it up. Screenshots of financial records went viral, fans dissecting them line by line. The betrayal wasn't just whispered. About it was now stamped in black and white for the entire world to see. And Rasheeda, she stayed quiet. She didn't rant online, didn't post cryptic messages, didn't take the bait. Instead, she let the silence speak for her. The poise she showed only made fans rally harder behind her. She was the picture of dignity in the middle of chaos, while Kirk looked more desperate by the day. Inside their home, however, things were far from dignified. Every conversation was a battle, every glance heavy with tension. Their children tiptoed around them, sensing that something was terribly wrong. Rasheeda couldn't sleep. She would lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, wondering how the man lying next to her could betray her so deeply. One night she finally said what had been weighing on her heart. "I don't even know who you are anymore, Kirk. You've turned into someone I don't recognize. And the worst part is, you were lying to me while smiling in my face every single day." Kirk didn't have a defense anymore. Shoulders slumped, his words halting. For the first time, the bravado was gone. He tried to plead, claiming he had panicked, that he wanted to secure money in case things ever went south. But Rasheeda wasn't buying it. If he had been worried about security, he would have told her. He would have built it with her, not behind her back. The truth was clear. Kirk hadn't been planning for their future. He had been planning for his own survival. And then came the breaking point. In a meeting with both legal teams, Rasheeda's lawyer laid out the full scope of what had been uncovered. Not just the bank accounts, but the properties, the investments, and the payments to other women. The room was heavy with tension as the final number was read aloud, the total amount Kirk had funneled away over the years. The figure was staggering, enough to not only devastate Rasheeda emotionally, but to make her question every financial decision they had ever made together. When the number hit the air, Rasheeda closed her eyes. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the betrayal being quantified, about having a dollar sign attached to years of lies. Looked directly at Kirk and whispered words that cut deeper than any lawyer's argument. "You stole from me. You stole from us. And I will never look at you the same again." Kirk's facade cracked completely. For once, he had no excuses left. The evidence was overwhelming, the lawyers unrelenting, and the wife who once defended him no longer willing to shield him. The walls he had built around his lies collapsed all at once. And the man who once prided himself on being untouchable was exposed as nothing more than a fraud in front of everyone. The days that followed were a blur of media frenzy. Rumors swirled about divorce papers being filed, about Rasheeda preparing to walk away for good. Fans cheered her on, flooding her social media with encouragement, telling her she deserved better, urging her to finally break free from Kirk's grip. For the first time in years, the narrative shifted. Rasheeda was no longer the victim of Kirk's mistakes. She was the survivor of his betrayal, the woman reclaiming her power. And Kirk, he became a cautionary tale. The man who thought he could outsmart everyone, who thought he could juggle lies forever, now stood stripped of everything. His pride, his reputation, and the trust of the only woman who had ever stood by him. But the story didn't end with legal battles or viral headlines. The true ending came in the quiet moments, the ones cameras couldn't capture. Rasheeda walked through her boutiques with renewed determination, knowing she was building something that was truly hers. Kirk sat alone at night, staring at the empty space beside him, realizing that the empire he had tried to hoard for himself had crumbled because he couldn't be honest with the one person who mattered most. Rasheeda made her choice not in anger, but in clarity. She chose to protect herself, her children, and her legacy. She chose to walk into her future unshaken by his lies. And in doing so, she sent a message louder than any headline ever could. Betrayal may break a heart, but it will never break her spirit. Because at the end of the day, Kirk's secret bank accounts didn't just expose his greed, they exposed his weakness. And Rasheeda's strength, resilience, and grace became the story the world would never forget. The courtroom may have revealed the proof, but Rasheeda's response revealed the truth. She was never the weak one. She was always the fighter, the builder, the survivor. And now, free from Kirk's shadow, she could finally step fully into her power. The empire wasn't his to hide, it was hers to claim. If you've made it this far, it's clear this story hit hard. Kirk's betrayal may have been exposed, but what do you think Rasheeda should do next? Should she finally walk away for good and protect her empire? Or is there still a chance for forgiveness after such a massive betrayal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because your voice matters. Nan, trust me. This conversation is just getting started. And if you want to stay locked in with every twist, turn, and shocking revelation from the world of celebrity drama. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Don't forget to tap the bell icon so you're the first to know when we drop another bombshell story. If you enjoyed this breakdown, give it a thumbs up. Lets us know you're loving the content and keeps us motivated to bring you even more exclusive deep dives. Okay? Share this video with a friend who needs to know the real tea. This saga between Kirk and Rasheeda may be far from over, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Stay tuned because the truth always finds its way out.